So first of all, I want to thank everybody for coming today. It has been a powerhouse, like Gary said yesterday, starting with Dr. Christensen and Dr. Brian Harris also here in the Valley. I am with Gary in Scottsdale, so not too far down the road from him. And it's just an honor and a privilege to be here today. Today, we're going to talk about the morning huddle. A few things that I want to share with you about me. I'll go through this a little bit quickly because I do want to honor our time and make sure that we've got time for some questions and answers at the end. So what makes me just a little bit different than perhaps some other consultants you might have heard or been around? I am an RDA. I am a very nosy clinical assistant. So every client I get the opportunity to join their practice, I go in and I see what are the clinical skills of that practice. I'm also a master life coach. So you're going to hear a little bit of some different terms perhaps that maybe you haven't heard in the past. I also have my bachelor's in business administration. I'm a certified business analyst as well, because it's just like Gary said this morning, the numbers tell the story. That's why we all have dental intel. The number is the number. It doesn't matter what it is, but you got to know what's driving that. And I'm also a Reiki master, so it kind of ties in a little bit of that holistic side. I'm definitely a behavior-driven coach, and you're going to hear some of that language today in the presentation. Numbers start the story. They're the mirror of your current reality. Not good nor bad. It is what it is, but it's the behavior and it's the heart of the story. And those are the why. That's why your patients come to see you. Why is your practice a little bit different than any other practice that those patients have been to? Why are they staying in a long-term relationship with you? So that's what we're going to talk about today in our morning huddle. So really, my why is I love to create harmony in teams, harmony with patients, harmony in communication, language-based practice. That's what I love to do. And I like to find each practice's unique ability and where they want to go. Like Gary was saying, if reducing your PPO plans from 12 to 2 is your ideal, awesome. Let's get you to there. So let's talk about that. So today, my intention for today is to create an awareness around why your morning huddle is the best investment as a leader, a business owner, and as a dentist that you can make into your practice. Why? Because you're going to be able to bring your team on board and have them support, promote, and empower the decisions that are made within the four walls of your practice for that day. So here's the recipe of success. So we're going to look at how are we going to design our perfect day, celebrations of why those are really important. We're going to focus on the relationship side and the behavior side, not the transactional what you're doing today. We're going to look at ideal patient care and the value of your time for today and tomorrow. If you're looking at today and tomorrow, you're always taking care of your future. So we're going to look at that. Not saying 6 months isn't important, but as a doctor and a business owner, you want to look at today and tomorrow and just stay in that mindset. And then we're going to track of how our practice economics support those behaviors, how that ties back into designing the perfect day. So here we go. Here's an exciting thought to think about. So I don't know how you start your morning. I like coffee. There were many years where I didn't drink coffee, but whatever that hot beverage is, perhaps it's a protein shake before you get ready to going. But think about your team. And when you're asking them to come in for a morning meeting, if you're not already doing it, it's the same amount of time that they would invest into making that cup of coffee, making that cup of tea, creating that shake, getting ready to go. Perhaps they're already doing it. Maybe they're already coming into your practice and they're doing those actions before patients come in, and we're not having communication around that. It's the, oh my God, we're in the morning. Sometimes we have that, but I just wanted you to think about 15 minutes, what a difference we can make in our day if we just invest in that. So let's get going. So if you're not having a morning meeting, doctors, perhaps this is what you're thinking. Oh my gosh, I have too many things going on. My schedule's so busy. I come in, I drop my keys, I run to my operatory. That's how you get started with your day. So if that's how you're feeling when you come in and that's the energy you're bringing, what do you think you're bringing to your patients? They're going to feel and see that same energy. So let's talk about how we can take that 15 minutes and repurpose it, design it, create some intention around that, and then be able to take that to your patients. Have a different, more powerful day. All starts with the team, like Gary was saying. So how are we going to integrate this 15 minutes into your day? I love this photo because that was me in the very beginning when I was in a practice that had team meetings and had the morning huddle, and I didn't really know what it was. And so if you're having a morning huddle, doctors, and you're sitting down and you are reading the schedule and you're going to that transactional, what the patient's coming in for. Amy's coming in today, number 3. She's finally doing that crown. I've been talking to her about transactional. This is going to be the look of your team. If you're coming in and you're talking about why our patients are coming in, why are they coming in to see us? What is that relationship? Perhaps we can see a different way that our team responds, supports, and even promotes the morning meeting. So let's talk about it. So the recipe for success in designing your perfect day is basically this. We're going to talk about celebrations, relationships. How are we in a relationship with our patient? Is it lifelong? Are we creating a trusted relationship? And is it value-based? The actions and the behavior of your patients are going to let you know if they are in a value-based relationship with you, or are they in transactional mindset. I come to my dentist for a transaction and I leave. If I get a coupon for next door, I'm going to go next door. What opportunities? What opportunities are walking in to our office today? Opportunity can be clinical, opportunity can be relationship, opportunity can also be financial. Financial is the end result of all other behavior. You will hear me say that several times today. We're going to focus on designing a proactive day versus a reactive day. Doctors, your schedules, you create it yourself, or your front office does, right? If you come in and you're wearing roller skates and it's a one-off, perhaps that's okay. If you're wearing roller skates more than 2 days in a month, you are having a reactive schedule. You're filling holes rather than proactively designing the day that you want. That's where the huddle comes in. What does it look like? What does it feel like? You have the opportunity to talk about that. And lastly, you want to end your meeting equally as powerful as you started. So we end with a motivational moment, motivational thought. I love on DI that you've got the video. I encourage my teams to also bring a quote. That quote rotates throughout the team. And so there's some communication around motivation for all of the team, and they're all bought in. So hopefully this is how your team sees your morning huddle. When they jump in and they come in and they're super excited, they've done their chart prep, just like Gary said, 15 minutes early, ready to go. So let's get going. So celebrations, man, if you can't tell already, I love celebrations. I think it's really important to be able to tell your team, I'm grateful for you. I'm happy that you're here. Let's see what we did right yesterday. Let's talk about it. Let's be powerful today, and let's bring that forward into our patients. So we're going to integrate our celebration into the morning meeting. We start with that, just like we're going to close with the motivation. So here's why. Here's the why, right? You want to start off with 3 things that your team did amazing yesterday. Don't dig them first thing in the morning, because who wants to come to that meeting? I don't. If you have something that didn't go right, you can pull somebody aside, talk to them later. But as a team, we want to stay excited about what we did great. It will only promote that behavior more and more. So celebrate what behavior you liked with your team. Amy, I really love the way that you greeted Sally when she came in. I know she was nervous. You did an awesome job, right? Whatever that is. And then when you're talking about your celebrations and you're looking at your 3 things, do 3 things that are professional, clinical, tactile, fingers, right? And do 1 that's a personal note on that, just like the one I just gave to myself for the shout out. Here are the tactile professional things, right? Did we make our goal on our practice, on a practice level and provider level? Those are not always the same. If you have multiple doctors, there are going to be different drivers on that practice level goal, just like with hygiene. So you want to talk about the goal. Again, end result of all the other behavior, but create the awareness first around what is going well with your goal. You also want to talk about retention. Retention in my language is relationship. What kind of relationship do we have with our patients in our hygiene department? And are they reserving their next? Most clients are ideally would be over 90%. My clients are in the high 90s because we created relationship. We want that interaction. We want to know, what are their family and friends? How is it going? Have that time. Same thing with the doctor's schedule. What was the retention in that? So what is that? Is it always case acceptance? No. It's, is there anything that was designed in today's reservation appointment that needed that patient to come back into the doctor's schedule, whether today or tomorrow. So what is the retention that's happening in the doctor's schedule? Ideally, in doctors, we like to see that around 65%, because not everything is a yes today, and that's okay. So lastly, you want to talk about, well, I shouldn't say lastly, but you want to look at your schedule and say, am I reserved ideally today? If you couldn't tell, I'm the morning person in my family. I want all of my high production in the morning. In my afternoons, I want them a little bit slower. My sister's the exact opposite. I have several clients that are the exact opposite. They want those post-ops in the morning till they wake up around 10 o'clock, perhaps high value right before lunch, and then they want that highest value in the afternoon because that's when they're their best. If I didn't know that, being a morning person, I might do it the exact opposite. What kind of an ideal day is that for my doctor? It's not. So doctors, that is a goal for you to talk to your team. Hey, if you didn't already know it, I love mornings. Let's put all the high production in the morning. Ideally, right? Not everybody's going to say yes to the morning, but you want to create the day that you want. That's how we do it. And then celebrate a team member for going above and beyond for what they did yesterday. So we want to encourage team behavior around the results that you want. You want to boost the mood for your team. You want to get them excited for the day. You want to promote a positive environment for your patients. And here's a great takeaway. 82% of all communication is nonverbal. So if your team walks in and they're crab apple on that day, guess what those first patients feel? If your team comes in and you've just had celebrations and everybody's excited, what kind of environment did you just create for your patients, right? So 82%, think about that, doctors. 82% of your communication with your team is nonverbal. We all know when somebody's having a bad day without having to ask them. So that's why we want to stay in the positive. So there is a quick handout that I created for you that you can get after this presentation that has each of these sections available to you. Simple format for your huddle if you're not already using DI and using their format. But here you go. Same things we just talked about. Keep your celebrations up and motivated. All right, so let's celebrate and have a great time with our morning meetings. Second part of our huddle is we want to talk about relationships and behaviors. Again, the why. Why are they coming to you? Why are they in your chair? Why did they choose you versus Dr. Next Door? We want to stay away from the transactional what. Okay, just like we talked about. We don't want to read the schedule. In our morning meeting, we want to talk about the relationships and who's coming in and why. This is the photo that you want your patients to take with you and your assistant chair side. Have them posted on all their social media. I'm so excited. I'm in the office. Look at my doctor, my favorite assistant, having a great day in the dental chair, right? So that's the relationship that you want your patients posting about how they love coming to your practice. So creating a practice that is relationship based promotes both retention, again, relationship with both your patients and your team. Practices that focus on relationship keep team members an average of 10 to 15 years versus practices that are transactional. Those team members stay anywhere now in the new world between 8 months and 12 months. Can you imagine changing your team every 8 to 12 months? Constantly, 5 years. That's a lot of stress, not only for you, doctor, as a business owner, but also for your patients, because they're thinking, now who's going to be up front? They don't know my story. I'm going to have to retell my story. So stay in relationship with your patients and your team. Just helps promote and support your ideal practice. You want to trust your patients. If they are in a relationship with you, they're going to trust you and your leadership. This means they're going to keep coming back to you. They're going to refer their family and friends. They're going to accept case acceptance at a higher level. Value-based interactions, again, just like I just said, higher case acceptance, retention, referrals. So all of that tells you when a patient's in relationship with you rather than just coming to see you because you're a dentist, right? So when you're talking about your morning huddle and we're talking about our patients coming in today, first question you want to ask, have there been any changes in the schedule today? A relationship-driven patient will say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I can't believe it. I'm sick. This rarely happens. Or is it somebody that habitually no-shows and cancels on you? We're going to talk about that in just a minute. So changes in schedule. If you have a lot of changes in your schedule, if it looks different at the end of the day from when you walked in the day, you have more of a transactional practice than a relationship practice. Relationship-based practice is 80 to 90% retention practice level, because again, 90% in hygiene, 60 in doctor. We're going to make sure that we're keeping our patients. Who's coming into it might have an unscheduled family member. So if it's me, it's going to be my son Spencer. It's time for him to come in for his healthy hygiene visit. We're going to talk to Amy about how can we possibly get Spencer into the schedule. Is there a family or a patient balance due today? It's an awareness to talk about in the morning meeting. Who's going to have that conversation? Patient in relationship with you is going to have a balance of 30 days or less. Anything above 30 days, it's more of a transactional relationship. Talk about your patient who might need extra time, right? Somebody might have fallen. They're on a walker. They need some extra time getting in the operatory. Maybe you have a high anxiety patient. You want to make sure they're in the last operatory where it's the quietest. Give them a little extra time. Maybe dim the lights, do all the things that you do to make sure that patient's happy and healthy. There might be somebody that's having some other struggles that may or may not have been to the dentist since COVID, right? We were a first responder for many months for most of our patients. Who's still coming in that needs a little bit of extra time and value with you, doctor? And lastly, what about your new patients? How are they coming into you? How did they hear about you? Celebrate that. Have that handwritten card ready. So when they're getting ready to leave, you can hand it to them. Amy, thank you so much for coming in today. Really appreciate your sister, Melissa, inviting you into our practice. Lovely to meet you, whatever your language is, but be prepared on how your new patients came to you and really celebrate that. So again, transactional behavior, it's the what. What are they coming in for? What, not the why, right? So if we are in a transactional relationship with our patients, whoops, I just clicked, there we go. It's trying to move the bar out of the way here. Let's move it up here to the top. So transactional, how do you know if your patient's in transaction with you? Again, last minute changes in your schedule. You will see who those are if you track that in your software. And if you've got DI, you'll see that right away. Your no-shows, that's a transactional behavior. Do not chase those patients. You don't need them. that's my mommy advice to you today. And what about your overdue patients that have any kind of an AR, anything over 30 days, it's fallen into transaction. Whoever's the best relationship driver in your front office, have them reach out to that patient, recreate a relationship driven interaction with that patient rather than transaction. So on your morning meeting in your morning huddle, here's how you can document that. You want to make sure you write that down so you can review it very quickly tomorrow when you're coming in through your celebrations. This is where your shout outs come out. So here's how you want to see your patients at the end, right? Okay, so now we're going to keep designing our perfect day. We're going to talk about our opportunities for today and tomorrow. Again, proactive scheduling versus reactive scheduling. How does that look and feel? Doctor, today, tomorrow, that's what you want to talk about unless you're looking at your highest value reservation. You want that within a 3-week window. If it's beyond that, we need to redesign how you're building your ideal day. But we'll talk about that later. Opportunities today. All of our team needs to know who's coming in today that has outstanding opportunity and who's going to have that conversation with them. Because we want to make sure that our patients, when they're coming in, we're in the relationship mindset, not the transactional, right? So who's coming in today that has outstanding treatment? Who's coming in today that has a family member that needs to come in? Who's coming in today that perhaps has an AR balance? How do you see that and feel that? Those are your opportunities. If you stay in clinical, only clinical all the time, then we fall into that transactional, right? Amy needs that crown at number 3, not, oh my gosh, she travels, she's hardly ever home, let's get her while she's here. Perhaps we have opportunity to, after healthy hygiene, get that crown prep done. It's a win-win, right? 2 visits instead of 6. So we also want to understand our patient's motivator concern when they're coming in to see us. So motivators are what causes our patient or drives our patient to come in to see us. They have to get up, they have a shower, they get in the car, drive to see you, do all the things, right? So what is their motivation to say yes to the clinical dentistry that you're doing? Is it full healthy hygiene visit? Is it full mouth reconstruction? Is it an open margin that's been driving them crazy and now it's impacted with food and they're having discomfort? What is it? So top motivators are pain, aesthetics, time, money, right? Money's the end result. all other behaviors. Money is not always number one. Though typically in an office, we usually say, money is the motivator for this patient. We've got to figure out a way to get them to say yes around money. No, keep asking them the why question. Just like Dr. Harris was saying yesterday and Gary said this morning, why did the patient come to see you? Why now? Why are we doing it today? Have that conversation with your patient, stay in relationship with them. If the patient says not yet, it's okay because it's a yes for tomorrow. You don't need to look for only a small bucket of opportunity. Every patient that comes into you has an opportunity to engage with you, either healthy hygiene or clinical. Either way, it's okay. We just want to know. You also want to look at tomorrow. Who's coming in tomorrow that perhaps we need to be prepared for, right? Is there a lab case that needs to come in? Is there extra time that needs to be reserved that maybe we forgot we needed an extra 15 minutes for that patient that needs that last room and a little bit of extra TLC? Reminding ourselves, or perhaps refreshing ourselves, of the motivator and the concern with the patient's coming in. So tomorrow, you want to not only look at what motivated the patient, but the concern that was driving the why, right? So the concern is the transactional. You go into, what is this going to cost? How much time do I need to come in? How many visits, right? All of those questions are in the concern bucket. So you need to be able to tie those together. So you want to also have team members that are going to look for a same day treatment. Again, using myself for an example. So that's why we want to look at today and tomorrow, having those great conversations. Now, this I took a lot of time on, but ideally in your morning meeting, this is the bulk, right? This is where you want to focus on your behavior, 5-10 minutes. I'm sorry, 3 to 5 minutes for celebrations. And we want to talk about our opportunities, right? For the majority of our meeting. Here we go. Who's coming in? Where are they going? Our relationship, equal amount of time. So ideally, when we're looking at our schedule, how do we reserve our day? Do we have most of our production in the morning for a morning person? If this is somebody who wakes up late in the day, they're not going to be super happy with this. So again, you design your reality. You're the one creating your today and your tomorrow, along with your team, which is why it's so important for this 15 minutes to come together as a team, because this could be a conversation around, Aim, I thank you for great design. Love it. Love that we're a goal. I'd really rather those in the afternoon. I'm not a morning person. You're still celebrating that she did something great, but your preference is more production in the afternoon. If it happens to be like me, all your productions in the morning, awesome job, great job, let's go. This is a perfect day. Let's stamp it forward to tomorrow. So celebrate the team, celebrate what they're doing right. Stay in relationship with your team throughout your morning meeting. Concentrate on your opportunities. And now we're designing our day with intention. I love this graphic because really, being in dentistry over 35 years, sitting in every chair except for the doctor chair, hygiene chair, this is what it's all about. It's a balancing act. We all know that. Rocks, high value, our ideal day, how does that look and feel? Keep this photo in mind. This is what you want it to be. Again, you put your rocks where you want, but you want it to be designed with intention that's a balanced life. It's like Gary was saying earlier, his doctors work 3 days a week. Awesome. It's a perfectly designed day with intention. They have a perfectly designed week with intention, the way they have 16 days of hygiene. You have 2 doctors working 3 days. You have 6 days of clinical care. It's perfect for that practice, right? So doctors on this presentation, think about what you want. Think about how you want to practice. What does your ideal day look like? If you don't know, it means we haven't had enough of them, or you can reflect back on the last week, 2 weeks ago, and say, this day was perfect. I love that day. Celebrate that with your team. I would like more days like this, right? So that's how we design our day with intention. We're being mindful about what we're bringing to our day. You want to create your reality of what you want today and tomorrow. So proactive mindset means it's the high value in the morning. It's the post-ops and the exams in the afternoon. Reactive mindset is whenever the patient calls, you get him in within 30 minutes. I know some consultants out there say that. There's other mindsets out there that say If a patient calls you, you bring them in within 30 minutes or they're going to call somewhere else. Bring them in, bring them in, bring them in. And you're double, triple, and quadruple booking your time. You have one of you. You cannot be in 4 operatories at the same time. So if you're scheduling linear every hour on the hour, and you know that it does not take you an hour for certain procedures, and you've got buffer time or extra time, have your front do a 9 o'clock and 9:20, whatever that works for you. Be intentional. Don't just fill holes. Have a practice that I work with that they have new team members. And even after 4 years of working with the doctor and the majority of the team, the new front schedule has been very interesting because the ladies that they have brought in have come from the mindset of filling the hole, not looking at the value or the time. It's just fill the hole. And so it's been a very interesting reminder of sometimes you've got to slow down to speed up, right? So you're slowing down to be mindful of your day. If you are at goal for you as a doctor production by 2 p.m., here's my question. Do you need from a 2 to a 4, or if you're open to 5, a 2 to 5? Or is that your power time where you can look into tomorrow? You can do your chart preps. You can be ready for a huddle. You have more intention for your hygiene checks. It's just a different way of looking at it. But if you're a doctor that likes to be super busy and you want to double book all the way to 5 o'clock, when do you have time to be mindful about your patients and creating that intention? So you're looking at the own value of your time. So doctors, here's a really interesting way of looking at your day. So let's just easy math, because it is morning for some of us. Not everybody's morning like me, but hopefully this has brought some excitement. But let's just say your hourly goal is $500 an hour, which is industry standard after 7 years in practice, under 20 years. You can be anywhere between 500 to 750. Let's do 500 because it's easy. So if your hourly goal is $500 an hour, that is your everyday dentistry, your meat and potatoes dentistry, you're reserving something under $1,000, right? For every hour. That's a half an hour, right? $500 a day. $500 an hour. So your highest value reservation for you would be $1,500. It's 3 times $1,500 for the hour for your large reservation. So in the afternoon, you're doing $500. You're meeting your goal. So if you're working 7 hours, it's $3,500 a day. If you hit your $3,500 by 2 p.m., give yourself some power time in the afternoon. Enjoy your afternoon. Create intention with your exams. Okay. So you're allowing ideal patient care with intention around your schedule, the type of dentistry that you love to do. I can't talk to you clinically what to do because I'm not a dentist. I can create the value around the ideal patient care and how you create that intention. So here's your morning meeting. Today, was my day designed with intention? Yes, fantastic. Stamp it forward. Or yes, but I also have an opportunity from 2 to 4 to be able to do my power time, create intention, do my chart review for tomorrow, look for my opportunities tomorrow. How am I going to have those conversations? You might think about Mrs. Jones that you did some treatment on, or a large treatment plan. Perhaps you didn't feel like you did an awesome job, or maybe you did feel like you did an awesome job. Reach out to her if she's not on the schedule. Mrs. Jones, I just wanted to reach out to you, see if you had any questions from our last conversation. I invite you to come back in with your husband. If you're using some of Dr. Harris's information about the video, awesome. Create your videos during your power time. You've got 2 hours of quiet time to be able to make those videos. You absolutely have the time in your day to do that. Okay, so that's how you design your day with intention. Creating balance around how you see your day. When it is perfect, high five your team at the end and say, this was a great day, right? Because then they're going to leave excited and they're going to be rewarded for that behavior. They're going to redo that behavior. They're going to stamp that day forward for you without you even asking about it. Or they might come to you and go, oh, we had such a great day up front. And then you celebrate that, right? Allow it to happen. So as I started in the beginning, you want to end your day as powerfully as you start. So we want to start with a motivational moment. If you've got DI, I absolutely love those videos. And I'm going to be the nerd that tells you I log in on the weekends and watch them because I like to see the Saturday video. It's not always the same as Monday. If you haven't done it, do it. It brightens your day. It's less than 3 minutes. If you're not on DI, I encourage you to look into it, but create a motivational moment. Bring in a quote, do something positive. Create the end of your morning huddle with the excitement and the energy that you brought into it. It's just as how you end your day is just as important as how you start. I always get ahead of myself, just a skosh. So I want to leave you with this quote. I love this quote from Dr. Wayne Dyer. The way you look, when you change the way you look at things, right? The things you look at change. So creating a morning huddle around the core ingredients that we just talked about today will change the way that you actually present and host your morning huddle. Because now you're creating intention around it. You're going to look at things differently. You're going to look at the celebrations for your team. You're going to be able to look at relationships. Who's coming in relationship? Where can we change from transactional to relationship? Where are my opportunities today and tomorrow? Is my day designed ideally the way that I love it? How's my team? Are they loving it too? Right? What if your top chair side assistant is an afternoon person and you're a morning person? That's the best of all worlds because you do all the talking in the morning. She does all the talking in the afternoon. It's a win-win for your patients. If you're both morning people, somebody needs to have some energy in the afternoon. Just saying. So here's the quote from Dr. Wayne Dyer. I want to be able to bring this back to how we started today. So my intention was to create some awareness around how we wanted to change and inspire and have a powerful morning huddle versus reading the schedule. So we talked about the recipe of success, designing your perfect day, celebrations and why they're important, and why we want to start our day with them. We talked about focusing on relationships and patient behavior, not the transactional, coming in for a crown. Why are they coming in for the crown? Ideal patient care. If you're done at 2:00, what can you do from 2 to 4? Ideal patient care. Think of it a little bit differently. Value of your time. Where do you like to have those higher production procedures, right? If you absolutely love it, morning, fill your morning. Have that opportunity to design the day that you want it today and tomorrow. Looking forward, you want to be able to see, are we on goal? That's why we talk about it first thing in the morning. How are we trending to goal? Everybody meeting their production goal. It's a whole different class if you want more information on that. And your motivational moment. What is your mindset for the day? How are you bookending your morning so that your patients and your team are excited to be there, excited to be in your practice? So that is the end of today's presentation. I wanted to save some time for some questions and answers. If you have any questions that you would like to send to me after this, you absolutely can. My email, my phone number on this slide. Jerem, I'm going to exit out of this and we'll go ahead and talk about any questions that we might have in the chat moving forward.
Perfect. Let's start with how do you add a bonus plan discussion during a morning huddle?
Ask me that in a different way. What is it? What is the word? What is the?
How do you add bonus plan discussions during morning huddle?
So an incentive plan in a team meeting, I like to do those at the first of the month following the previous month. So you know that the beginning of every month, that first meeting, whenever that is in your week, that you would discuss how we did the previous month. The incentive plans and bonus plans are so different in every different office. If it's a celebration, we may go high five, get it going. I would end it at, that would be the motivational part. If you start with money in the very beginning of your conversation, your team is going to be thinking about money the whole time. They're not going to be thinking about your patients. So I would encourage you to have that at the very end. Y'all may go high five. Let's talk about it. Right? That's how I do it with my teams.
Awesome. Let's break this apart a little bit. We've got about 10 minutes that I want to spend with you. And you had a slide. I really liked it. If you wouldn't mind pulling it back up. I'm going
to on my second screen so I can do it a little bit easier. So go ahead and keep asking me the question.
It was the framework for your morning huddle. And I just want to pull that apart a little bit. Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, so I actually have this handout ready to go that we can send out to our participants at any time. Let me change my screen here. Sometimes you got to get the glasses on so you can see everything.
Okay, so as you're pulling this up, let me give our viewers some context here. So the conclusion of 2020, we as a company went back through 2020 and we wanted to aggregate, organize the data
Right.
of all of our customers on what were the ones that were growing and thriving during 2020 focused on. What were they actually doing in their practice? And knowing that for a good part of the year, most of the nation was shut down. And so you know, a lot of people were doing a lot of the same things. However, there were some key behaviors and key elements to them growing their practice during that time that we were able to find through this report. And I call it the 10K report, meaning that we surveyed and analyzed over 10,000 different practices on what they were doing. And when I give you guys the code for the CE, there's a QR code right underneath it. If you scan that and fill that out, then Dental Intel will just send you that report. It's about a 10-page report that's got all those details in it. Now, with that being said, Morning Huddle was a big part of this. This is hopefully this doesn't shock you, but if it does, that I want to make sure that we are really understanding the power that happens in these 15 minutes. And so let's see, it was the go to the image that I think it was right at the very end of your presentation.
Yeah, so I'm going to actually unshare this screen. So what I was trying to do is be able to still see you and your hands and be able to share my screen here. So there we go.
So one thing that I want to point out to this is,
are you seeing the handout before we keep going?
I'm seeing the designing your perfect day. Yep.
Perfect.
Celebration on we did yesterday and then today.
Yep.
So,
and so we want to make sure, not to cut you off, Jared, but we want to make sure we always document who's attending for that day in case somebody's on vacation, right? So if we say, are we on goal for our practice and we did not close our day if our doctor was out for that week and it's showing that we still had revenue hours available, then we're not going to be on goal, right? But we want to make sure that we're documenting who's in on our day so that we can celebrate the following day. So not to cut you off, but go ahead.
okay, so this is, I love this. When we talk about culture and we talk about bonus plans and bonus structures,
yeah,
I went through an executive level training about 3 years ago. And one of the segments in this was, it was a bunch of C-level executives from all over the world that had come in to really, whatever they needed to go through to upgrade their thinking, right? As C-level executives, get upgraded with the way things are being done, and the millennials coming through the workforce and the younger generations right behind them. And so, and part of that was this misconception of culture and how culture is built. But I'll never forget this. And I love this with Morning Huddle, and that is, it's one thing to tell the practice, like, hey guys, we're winning as a practice right now. Everyone's doing a really good job. And everyone feels good being a part of a winning team. However, if you really want to drive exceptional behavior, then you show the points that your team members are putting up on the scoreboard on a daily basis. Like like not just the team score, hey guys, we won, but hypothetically speaking, or from the analogy, if it's basketball, we won the game 90-87. If your employee, if your dental professional sees that 5 of those points out of that 90 that we won with were their points, then the production you get skyrockets. And I thought this was interesting during this, right? And so during Morning Huddle, we want to make sure that those celebrations are happening. And if that's all that happened, then that's a win, right? Because if they're not happening, And meaning if you're celebrating it as a practice, but someone is being left out because there's no celebrations, right? For that individual,
Right.
then this gives you the opportunity to have that discussion, right?
Right. Right. And as a doctor, if you're doing a spotlight on an employee that day, another reason to keep track of this is you want to make sure you spotlight every single person. I used to do it in alpha order because it was easier for me to remember when I was leading the huddle, but you want to make sure everybody gets spotlighted.
Mm-hmm.
So keeping a track of this, and then you can go back and you can use it as part of that incentive plan that somebody asked about. So if I'm having my review and I have my spotlights that are there, Amy, over the last year, you had 17 spotlights. And this is the behavior we really want to reward you on. You don't bonus on just because you've gone around the world, 365 days. You bonus on behavior because
Mm-hmm.
that's what you want to promote. So, Jeremy, I want to support that culture that you were just talking about. And I actually heard this from Dan Clark at the summit in Snowbird 2 years ago when I met you.
Mm-hmm.
And I've used this so many times, but culture is designed or defined by the highest level of integrity and the lowest level of acceptable behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So, doctors, think about this. You drive and you lead your team with the highest level of integrity, and whatever the lowest acceptable behavior of your team members that you allow in your practice, those are the bookends of the culture in your practice. I had an office manager that was not a very nice, kind person. She was super sweet to the doctor. She was a tyrant to the team. And because that behavior was allowed and accepted, this practice has had multiple turnovers until that office manager left, and now they have a fantastic team. So think about your culture. And if there's a gap of where you think your culture is, look at what that lowest level of acceptable behavior is. And how you can find out what that is just by doing conversations with your team. What do you like the best about working with me? What do you like the best about our practice? It's like Gary was saying, going around the room, right? One positive thing. Instead of doing that about the patients, why do patients want to come to us? Why would you refer one of your best friends to come work here? What do you love about working here?
So good.
It just allows a different conversation.
Now, as far as getting ahead of, I know that the idea is 15 minutes, right? And these
Right.
meetings can, I mean, it's so fast, they can just run away from me and all of a sudden you're like, I just started. I mean, there's so much more to talk about. Everyone needs to get to work.
Right.
So whatever the format is, and I love that you've made this really, really simple here. Keep in mind that a morning huddle is not a time for major
It's not a large
correction
thing.
or training. It's like a touch point, right? It's like we make sure that we calibrate for the day, that we're all here, a little rah rah rah, we're awake, we're ready to go. We see holes in a schedule that we can jump on. We see holes in our schedule tomorrow that we can jump on.
Right.
And we rally around as a team to prepare ourselves for the big game that day.
Right.
So I love that you've done this. Now let's end with this. The intent, I love the word intention, right? Because a lot of times we just go through the motion of things, right? We're just doing, we're doing, we're doing. But when we really can train ourselves to go in with the intention to grow, so now you're going to become hyper focused on what it is that you need to be doing. And so, is my schedule designed with intention? And as a doctor, I have to pose to you, is your schedule designed to do the dentistry that you want to do?
Right.
And if it's not, then maybe it's time to assess where it is you're going as a practice and go, my goodness, I've been doing this for 20 years and it's time for me to start doing the dentistry that I want to do and
Right.
make those necessary change, right?
Exactly, because only the doctor can diagnose what needs to be done. I have a client that used to say, I hate posterior composites. Well, only you are seeing those.
That's exactly
So we've
right.
gone from 65 posterior composites a month to maybe down to 50, but it's a progression, right? I'm not saying do dentistry that is not there. Absolutely, I'm not saying that. But if we are overly conservative and you're not doing the dentistry that you want, go do some CE. Go find something fun. Like Gary was saying, go introduce. I am a life learner and I love to learn. encourage my clients to always seek something once a year clinically that you want to do something differently, right?
Yes.
Practice management's fantastic. It's business is great. But if you're not clinically growing, I can only, you can only grow so far as a business.
Mhm.
So yes, designing with intention. I love that you love that because it's my language. I love it.
It's very, very good. So now I'm gonna, and guys, bear with me. I'm new to dentistry. I've been with Dental Intel for just over 2 years now. First time I've been in dentistry. I absolutely love what you guys do and just what you stand for. But I want the attendees to really understand the impact of Morning Huddle, right? And whether the practice is having Morning Huddle or not, or whether you would consider it super effective or not effective, at the end of the day, you have a choice. That choice is up to you, what you want to do with what information is being presented to you. So you may not like the way the Morning Huddle is done, but that shouldn't stop you from being the very best hygienist, the very best associate, the very best office manager. And so pay attention to what it is that you need to learn and grow with and that you want to understand better. And during those morning huddles, if you do need to, ask your superior, this is what I want to be held accountable to, or I'd like more information behind this. Or if in your mind you're paying attention to your hygiene reappointment percentage, right? And like that's your
Right.
win. That's where points are getting put on the board. I just challenge you guys to do that. Don't wait
Absolutely.
around and for someone to take those reins. Like take control of your growth as a dental professional and
Right.
go in with intention to grow and be better. And you'll be shocked what those 15 minutes do.
Absolutely.